And welcome back. This is New Day right here on TV3, and this is The Big Issue. As always, we've tabled a number of pertinent issues that myself and my panelists will be sinking our teeth into. Of course, today we're also cashing out big. It is star 439 hash, star 439 hash. Make sure you are picking option 2, and that is for TV3. It'll cost you 5 CDs to play, and you too could be walking away with cold, hard cash this morning. So do keep on playing. If you don't play, you don't win. Now, yesterday, spokesperson for the presidency, Felix Kwatio-Fosu, addressed the press on a number of pressing issues, from the CLOGSAG strike to attacks on journalists. And he had some information to give to the good people of Ghana. Let's take a listen.
Of a registrar, who essentially is the head of that department, Section 2 of Act 1027 makes it clear how it ought to be done. The contention of CLOGSAG is that the registrar position is a civil service position. That has to be backed by specific provision in law. Now, if you read the relevant section of this law, Section 2, which deals with the appointment of the registrar of births and deaths, Section 2.1 says, the registry shall have a registrar of births and deaths. Section 2.2 says, the president shall, in accordance with Article 195 of the Constitution, appoint the registrar. Now you may seek to inquire what Article 195 says. Article 195 simply gives the president power to make appointments, and in some instances allows him to delegate that power to other entities, individuals, or organizations to do. And in the specific instance of the births and deaths registry, the law governing the operations of that, the law governing the operations of that entity spells out clearly who should make the appointment. It says the president, and the president has acted in accordance with the 1992 Constitution. Now, Section 2.3 says the president shall, in appointing a person as the registrar, have regard to the relevant academic qualification, experience, and knowledge of that person in civil registration. The registrar shall hold office on the terms and conditions specified in the letter of appointment. So, the criteria for that appointment is clearly spelled out in Section 2 of this Act. CLOGSAG has not questioned the competence of the current occupant of the position of registrar. They only say that he is politically exposed. But I have just read the law to you. And you, as journalists, I'm sure, have capacity to dig up this law and read it for yourself. There is no way that it is said that the position ought to be occupied by a civil servant. And Mr. Adumbotre is a highly experienced official who in the past has served as district chief executive under the Mills administration. And he has many years of public service experience. And he has requisite academic qualifications to hold that particular position. So it is the view of government that whilst we respect our partners in organized labor and seek to dialogue on all relevant matters, in this particular instance, the president has acted in accordance with Ghanaian law. And for that reason, there cannot be a reason why Mr. Adumbotre should be removed, only because he is not a civil servant. There is no provision that says that the position is reserved for civil servants. If it is the view of CLOGSAG that in the past civil servants have occupied it, it does not mean that any other person apart from a civil servant cannot occupy that position. And we need to act strictly in accordance with Ghanaian law, even as we continue to engage and dialogue on how we govern our country. We are aware of similar agitations in the past against the appointee of President Akufo-Addo. And we do know that a court case emanated from that particular engagement. As we speak, I'm not aware that the court has determined the matter. So until this law is revoked or there is judicial pronouncement that says that this particular law is illegal and should be struck down, we believe that the president .
All right, again, this is the big issue. We're just listening there to Felix Kwakye Ofosu, spokesperson to the president of the Republic of Ghana, addressing a number of issues. And this morning, we've tabled said issues. We'll be talking about the CLOGSAG strike. Now, CLOGSAG threatens strike over unfulfilled promise to remove births and deaths registrar. We'll also talk about the GJA raising concern over a spike in attacks on journalists. Now, to help us unravel the issues, I've got in studio with me this morning Shamima Muslim. She's a deputy presidential spokesperson, also no stranger to the Big Issue platform. I've also got Rodalyn Imoru Ayana, public interest advocate, who will be also sinking her teeth into these pertinent issues. Joining us via Zoom and also phone will be Manasseh Awuni-Azuri. He's an investigative journalist and an author, and will also speak with Seth Abloso. He's a labor expert. Let me say good morning to the ladies in the studio. Shamima, Rodalyn, good morning. How are we doing?
Good morning. We are well, thank you.
Doing well. It's good to see you. I love having the women here on Thursdays. And today we have some meaty issues indeed. We'll be seeking to unpack it. Rodalyn, whenever we post videos of you, you get a lot of good reviews. You're a hit with the citizenry. They say you say it bluntly as it is. I know there'll be no shortage of blunt, frank, and straight to the point submissions. But there's more on this subject. Take a listen.
Swally, our international partners, including the Federation of African Journalists, FAJ, and the International Federation of Journalists, IFG, have also indicated their readiness to pursue justice if we don't see or hear anything concrete from the police after the end of March 2025. We shall proceed to the ECOWAS Community Court of Justice to find justice for Swally and Latif. Our intelligence suggests that the thugs and criminals who assaulted the journalists are supporters or sympathizers of the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC. This only sends warning signals that Ghana is heading towards a state of anarchy. It appears there's no law and order, and there's no security in the country. We wish to take this opportunity to appeal to one of our own, President John Dramani Mahama, to take a personal interest in these cases as the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces and ensure that the perpetrators are arrested, arraigned, and punished for their crimes. We also intend to petition the Military High Command over the Wali Wali incident, since it involves a soldier.
All right, and that was the GJA President Albert Kwabena Jumfo there, speaking on what he says is a rise in attacks on journalists, and also asking that government take a keen look at it. Shamima Muslim is here in the studios. And Shamima, it's I believe, 51 days into the President John Dramani administration. So the countdown is on for certain timelines. Is the pressure on, or are you taking it nice, cool, and steady at the presidency?
Well, the fact that, good morning to you once again. As you would rightly say, this is a 4-year mandate. It's a legacy mandate for His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. In fact, immediately after he was pronounced the winner of the 2024 elections, he hasn't sat down. And everybody who has followed the trajectory of actions that have been taken since then knows that this is a leader in very much haste to reset the country for the better. And I would love us to spend a lot of time to speak about the actions and activities that are ongoing. Today, the National Education Forum is wrapping up. On 3rd of March, we are having the National Economic Dialogue. The Constitution Review Committee is hard at work to ensure that they propose some actionable reforms to serve as the foundational basis for the reset agenda. Citizens of Ghana believe we're in the right direction. At least 74% of Ghanaians believe that His Excellency leadership is in the right direction.
You
because
reference that Global Info
obviously-
Analytics poll?
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, and these are polls from ordinary Ghanaians. And so we're not looking for a perfect, administration, but we're looking for a responsive administration, a proactive administration, an administration that would largely lead by its principles and values and its commitment to the people, the social contract. That is the administration, that is the software of His Excellency's administration, one that will not run away from issues or criticism. In fact, that one that reassures. If you listen to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, throughout the 4 swearing-in ceremonies of ministerial nominees, one thing runs through it all, that he's going to hold his own nominees first accountable, even as he holds, previous administrations accountable, because this is what Ghanaians want. They want a marked departure from the standard that we have been, served with over the past couple of years since our 4th democratic dispensation. And we always say that 32 years, it seems that we are witnessing a rollback of the gains we have made, for our country. So if there's anyone who is on the side of Ghana, it is His Excellencies. Anyone who is committed to leading a free and just society, it is His Excellency. I mean, he has assured journalists in particular, he is one of us, that everybody should feel free to speak. And I think probably that's why we are hearing the tone of we don't want adversarial
the tone
tones.
of whom?
The GJA president. There's a renewed energy and belief and fervor, and we want all those voices to find expression, because that is what democracy is about. So we won't sit here. I won't sit here. Look, I'm one of those who referenced the Afrobarometer report severally in the lead up to the elections. And there was also a study which I was just trying to pull out from the Media Foundation for West Africa. And I'm just jumping into the video that you played. Right. If you read that report, because they scan the media constantly, in their 2029 to 2023 report on violations against journalists in Ghana, they reported 79 violations against journalists. 35 of those violations were at the hands of the security agencies. So it will be national security, it will be the army, it will be the Ghana police who have engaged in those direct violations. All the others were reference to state institutions, even statements from the president, decrying, criticizing media, even though he had assured us that he would prefer a boisterous, media than one that, panders to the government of the day. And unfortunately, that didn't find expression in the character of the administration. So what the Media Foundation report sought to give us was to track all of these violations, and also international agencies that also tracked media freedoms per the Media Freedom Index, that all came with the objective assessment of an administration on a yearly basis, that came to the conclusion that under that administration, there were signs of increasing high-handedness, there were stifling of media freedoms, and also erosion of trust in accountability institutions. These are patterns observed over time for which these conclusions are made. Of course, agro beswa every day anopa. So I would want to first of all assure my colleagues, journalists, that if there's anyone in this administration that is on the side of a free and just society, as well as a free and just media, it is number one, His Excellency, who is still a member of the GJA in good standing. It's number two, some of us who have transitioned from the media into this government. So, of course, we won't sit back and allow, unfettered attacks against the media. What the role government will play and leaders must play is to always ensure that we speak against attacks on the media, and then we take actions. It is His Excellency that promised that when he comes back, he's going to put the police back to work to find the killers of Ahmed Swale. Because, again, that is one case that is a major blot in our,
and
democracy.
And this government has a keen interest in finding out who killed Ahmed Swale.
Of course, and it was in his manifesto. He was the one who also assured when he came that everybody must be free to speak. because we had endured an era of silence. You, me, other media platforms. I'm happy you have Manasseh. There was a conversation we had on Joy FM online. Manasseh was part, Evans Mensah was part, I was part, where the media themselves pronounced that they were self-censoring themselves because of fear of reprisals or attacks or, vitriol against them from agents of government. Do you see it? So impunity thrives when a number of things happen. When state institutions, when government officials are complicit in attacks against journalists. Impunity thrives when the justice, system does not deliver justice to journalists who, have been attacked. Impunity thrives when states uses its authority, its legislative authority, to bring back laws that criminalize free speech. After we had, repealed the criminal libel law, one of the major criticisms against the outgone government was the bringing back of these laws that seek to criminalize speech and also under the umbrella of causing fear and panic and publishing false, information. So this was the legislative or the legal regime that also fueled the perceptions that this administration was, the outgone administration was not favorable to the media. In all fairness and in all real justice, if you listen to the paragraph that you played,
yes,
where the my respected colleague, the president of the GJA, seemed to suggest an unprecedented levels of attack against the media. If the sentiment he raised is reflective of the general mood within the media fraternity today, that they feel suppressed, they feel attacked, and they feel that their rights are being violated. If that is a reflection of the general mood of the media fraternity, then we would sit up and listen.
You say that's not the general mood. From where you sit, you're not picking that intel.
Respectfully, I don't think so. In fact, the fact that the GJA president is able to organize this press conference, the fact that a lot of my media colleagues feel a renewed sense and a renewed energy to try to revive, press freedom, is indicative of their belief in the leader of the day. Everybody knows that His Excellency is quite measured in his response and reactions to a lot of things that happen in this society. What I would assure them, that these specific cases, they mentioned 7 instances or reported cases. 3 of those cases were at the hand of, in fact, all of them were at the hand of security personnel. 2 were at the hands of galamsey operators, illegal miners who attacked at least 2 journalists who were on their path of work. That's 1. And then the 4 happened on the same day at the Council of State elections.
That's right.
In the Ashanti region. Because there was some scuffle there, and said some people came there, and the allegation is that they have heard from their intelligence that those people who came to disrupt the process, and during which a journalist faced an attack, were NDC members. And so there's a call on the security. So there's always the security challenge in terms of how security responds to the media. But what we must do is a more objective assessment of the response of government to those attacks, and the appetite of a government of the day to protect media freedoms. Okay, these matters that they have raised, we will bring them to the attention of the president.
Just a very quick one before I move on to Rodelin. Some reps of the GJA said that Felix missed an opportunity yesterday to maybe just put out a word of caution to those who might seek to harm journalists. And I listened to him keenly yesterday, and he talked about the president being a part of the journalist fraternity. And as you mentioned, if anybody would guarantee or seek to guarantee the protection of journalists, it would be His Excellency. Do you agree with the GJA reps who say that maybe there was an opportunity to once again mention that attacks on journalists are a complete no-no. He definitely sought to give some explanations, and as you mentioned, outline the 7 attacks and the nature of those attacks. Do you agree that a little bit more could have been done to reassure those of us in this fraternity?
You just quoted Honorable Felix Kwachu Fosu's statement. Throughout that media address were these reassurances that His Excellency will be the last person to superintend over, a society where media is being stifled of their freedoms. He will be the last person. I am happy that none of the reports of the incidents is traced to any state institution, any government direct, agency under the government, any appointee of the president, or even from the president's office. None of the 7 cases can be so said. But if you read something like what he said, something like, it is very sad to note that in the, let me see, it's also disheartening to note that under just about 50 days into the second JM administration, we have witnessed 7 cases of assault against journalists. This is unprecedented. And then the one that he added about whether there's anarchy that is about to befall, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration. And even though my colleague, the president of GJA is the commander of the Journalists Association, I think that we must build this country. And when you have somebody on your side, cooperation is what is key to protecting, because the executive has a lot of powers. They can do with as they please. At the end of the day, it will not augur well for the fraternity, just as it won't augur well for the administration. But we have seen people who didn't care what you felt, what you thought, what you went through. We don't want a return to those days. And so we work together in a spirit of, harmony, but also good intent towards each other. So we will correct the wrongs as and when they come. Your position should be how we try to respond. His Excellency, even when he was not sworn in, when there were pockets of violence after the announcement of the win, even when he was not commander-in-chief, addressed this nation and called on the security agencies to act to bring order. And so again, we would like to call on the security agencies to always, err on the side of caution in their interactions with the media. And when there are other agents that also create these problems, they should step in and do the right thing. So if galamseyers have attacked a journalist, it's the security agencies that reserve the right to arrest. They should please arrest. If there are some people who came to attack people at the regional security and them, please do the needful so that we'll build this country. That's all we want, really.
Shamima, thank you for your submissions on this particular issue. Let me acknowledge Manasseh Azuri, investigative journalist as well as author. He joins us via Zoom. I know he's in a different jurisdiction. Let me say good morning to him and pick his thoughts on this particular subject. Manasseh, hello, good morning. Manasseh, can you hear me? Good morning and welcome to The Big Issue. All right, I think we might have a little challenge with Manasseh Zoom. We'll go back to him and pick his thoughts. Now, he's a journalist who has faced personally some threats and attacks, and it'll be interesting to pick his thoughts on the particular subject of attacks on journalists. Let me bring Rodalyn in now at this point to also weigh in, one on the presser by the GJA president yesterday and the response from the presidency. Are you encouraged that this is a new dawn, a new day, and that something will be done about attacks on journalists?
Good morning to our cherished viewers, to the lovely ladies.
Hello.
I am encouraged by the new dawn, the ability to be able to stand and speak without fear. Because I remember quite well that this same GIJ president had a problem with the past president, the ex-president, where there was some kind of a look that was supposed to have come from the ex-president when the GIJ president...
The GJA president spoke about galamsey.
Exactly.
At an event, I recall.
At an event. I'm just trying to remember it fully. So it's refreshing that he's still standing there for the journalists. And Ahmed Swale is what we came here to talk about. He's threatening to go to ECOWAS.
That's the GJA, yes?
The GJA, in the event that we are not able to solve this problem.
In fact, they give the end of March as a deadline.
Yes, as a deadline. And I'm asking myself, as journalist, he being the president of the Ghana Journalists Association, is that it, or is it the director?
That's right, he's the president.
Okay. As a journalist, and being the one that is supposed to be telling all Ghanaians, they are our eyes. Journalists are the ones that speak for us. When things are going wrong, we expect journalists to be there. They have their eyes to go around, tell us the information, and at the end of the day, help us to solve those kinds of things. I don't know if it's just because Ahmed Swale is a journalist, but we have the JB Dankwa murder issue. It has not been solved.
That's right.
We've had other issues that have come up that have not been solved. If I should go back, there's so many criminal things that have happened in this country that have not been solved, where we expected journalists who started following those cases to be giving us updates. We don't even have those updates. It seems like they are only interested when it has to do with a journalist, forgetting that the Ghanaian is, not all of us are journalists. We also have some public interest, and those are the cases that they should also be looking at. So it's good for him to want to go to the ECOWAS in the event that we are not able to solve Ahmed Swale's case. I hope that when he finds out that we are not able to do that by March, he would add Gregory Afoko, who's also been accused of something, of murder of the former MPP chairman for the Upper East region, and who has been granted, he has been freed and is still in jail. Okay? Okay, I hope that he'll be able to take up that issue as well. Let's not just look at the GJA president's statement as just for journalists. He should come out as the fourth estate of the realm. They should be there for all of us, not just when it has to do with one particular person. There have been so many murder cases in this country that have not been fully done with. And we expect that journalism, being what it is, should always continuously be on the tails of these people to bring out the punishments, to bring out the facts, to bring out everything. So I think that I'm happy that he's able to speak, but he should speak for everyone, not just because it's Ahmed Swale. As a public interest person, I am looking at a situation where journalists are being trained in this country. We expect them to do what they've been trained to do. But for some of us who have had relationships with journalists, we have found some of them to not really be living up to the standards of journalism in this country.
Expand on that for us, Rodelin.
I have called people for press conferences. I have met with journalists who say they are freelancers, and they can hardly express themselves. They come, and the most important thing for them is the after. And I think that is one thing that the Ghana Journalists Association must be looking at. The quality of journalism in this country is sinking. The quality is such that some journalists, though we expect them to try as much as possible to be neutral, are becoming very partisan. We watch them on our TV screens being very partisan in their utterances and all that. And yet, we think that that is not something to speak about. It is only, you see, it's from that angle that you get someone attacking somebody. Because if you come, and I know you as a vocal MPP person or a different political party person, speaking on behalf of a particular party, and you come to an event that I also feel that I don't expect you to be here and make noise, sometimes.
But Rodelin, does that warrant an attack?
It doesn't warrant an attack. But then what happens is that they forget they are journalists. And sometimes they go into situations that they are not supposed to be at.
So you say sometimes they might walk into a situation,
Yes,
take off that journalist hat.
journalist and become party people. And then you get the attacks. Journalists must behave like journalists. They must be there for everybody. But then sometimes we are beginning to see journalists, I don't know if they are well trained, because you see, I don't know the difference between the freelancer and the trained journalist. That's my problem. Samima here is a media person. She might know the difference, but I don't. When you come to my program and you say that you're a journalist, I expect that you have some form of decorum. You have some kind of qualification that makes you a journalist. But in the event that you come to a program and all that I see, I'm not satisfied with it. You see, I have a problem with that. And for the GJA president, I think that I have not seen. It's too early yet for him to complain that the Mahama administration is probably mistreating journalists.
He
and the
said
likes.
it's some 51 days in, and he says 7 attacks. He says it's unprecedented.
Okay, Wale, he
some
mentioned
attacks.
Wale.
He mentioned Ashanti region.
Wale, what happened in Wale? Somebody goes to cover a program and is hurt.
Rhodalyn, is it your assertion that the GJA president is getting ahead of himself?
I think so.
He's speeding.
I think he's speeding. He should take time and just take time, look at issues and come out in the proper sense of it. But let me just bring out something of public interest. Since we have Shamima here, it's about the revocation of the teachers and the nurses. There is that perception out there that the NDC is trying to take the jobs from Ghanaians. They are also Ghanaians. And therefore, they should find a middle ground to deal with this situation. I have listened to the spokespersons. They have explained and I have understood. But I want to say that, be it as it were, that these people were appointed by the ex-president. I think that the best that we can do is to ask them to reapply and also to go through their documentations to make sure that they qualify to do what they have to do.
You say these persons should reapply for the roles
that
they have been removed from?
Exactly, the nurses and the teachers. They should reapply.
You think that will cure what is going on at the moment?
I think so. You see, whatever we do, we should know that we need teachers, we need nurses. And this is a time that everyone, like we all say, we are all Ghanaians. And therefore, if they have been taken on a job, do they qualify? Do they have the requisite qualifications for the various jobs that they are coming on board? Because, you see, sometimes you have to let people know. You meet teachers who cannot even express themselves, and you expect this person to teach your child in the classroom. You meet a nurse that is so rude and not up to their job, and yet this person has applied and maybe has been taken. Can they reapply so that we find out if they qualify for these jobs? And if they do, and government can take them on, why not? You understand? Because we've had a situation where the GMA, Ghana Medical Association president, has said that they are having problems of lawsuits because people are not doing the right thing.
In fact, a number of persons say they're lacing their boots
and
they're looking to go to court. Rhodalyn, small digression though on our topic for the morning, but I know it's an important one.
It's because she's here. Once she has come and she's taken up the issues, because she went into other issues before coming to this one.
That's right.
So I just wanted to take this message back, that in as much as we want to tell them to sit back, let us give them an open window somewhere to be able to come in.
That's what we have made, that we've announced that.
So
that
what are
when
they going
those
to
jobs
do?
are reopened, people can reapply.
So maybe
Yes.
that is it. But because with
They
the
can
public interest,
reapply.
that
There
is
have
the
been a
thing.
lot of suggestions, actually, as far as this particular issue is concerned. Persons, legal persons saying that maybe we could have some legislation that prevents governments from appointing maybe at a certain time, too close to the dates, and so on and so forth. We can certainly unravel those. But I'll jump back onto
back
our
onto your topic
of the morning. I want
Yeah,
to bring
so-
in Manasseh, but round up for me, Rhodalyn,
Yeah, so
please.
I would want to ask, You know the graphic corporation. New Times Corporation. They are all state entities. They all employ journalists.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know whether the GJA president was not or is not in this country to see that the Graphic Corporation and the New Times Corporation are all run down. I don't know if he's not around. I have not heard him, when the ex-president was president, say that you have run down the state institutions. We saw situations where even the GBC, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, was being run down, and we didn't hear of GJA coming out to speak about these things. So this 40 days in government and you are giving ultimatums, for me, it's not right.
So you assert that he's speeding?
He's speeding. 40 days in government and you're already giving ultimatums. I mean, look, we are running a country. We have given an opportunity to somebody to be able to run this country for us. Let us give him the support that is necessary for him to do what he thinks is right. Let us not run. Look, I know that people are hurt because probably their political parties did not win and people don't want to be seen to be aligned to NDC or something. But please, no matter which party you belong to, this is a new dawn. This is an opportunity for all of us to work together to bring this country to the right setting. And therefore, if it's not important, don't bring it out for discussion.
Rhodelin, very interesting angle. You say that there's a clamor now for people to be seen and to be heard as, doing something or keeping government on its toes.
Exactly. They didn't get the opportunity to say it before because if you said it, you had a problem. Either you were kicked out or you had people chasing after you. Now that the avenue has been open for you to say what you want to say, you now will just come and blab anything at all. If you don't have anything to say, don't say it.
Rhodelin, thank you for that. Let's jump back onto our Zoom right now and speak with Manasseh Azuri, investigative journalist. Manasseh, if you can hear me, hello, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
All right, now, as a journalist who has personally faced attacks and threats, how serious would you say is the problem of journalist safety in Ghana today?
Well, I think the safety of journalists has always been an important issue, and I vehemently disagree with your last speaker. I hear the name Rhodelin.
That's right.
Says, yes, that the GJA should shut up. In the first place, if GBC, if Graphic or Times is run down, their management and board are supposed to handle that. The GJ's primary responsibility is to ensure the safety and welfare of journalists. Two, it is very, very dangerous for anybody to suggest, and on national television, that journalists who are politically aligned can be attacked or should be attacked, or that could be a justification. The mildest suggestion that they could be attacked because they can be seen politicians and journalists is very dangerous, because politicians who say the damnest things on television, radio, are not supposed to be attacked. So if you're a journalist who acts like a politician, you are not supposed to be attacked. I am for responsible journalism. I am for journalists who hold power to account without aligning, but we should never justify any attack. Even a murderer is not supposed to be attacked, beaten up. They are supposed to be arrested and taken through the legal proceedings. So we should disabuse our minds of this narrative that, well, the attacks are coming because journalists are irresponsible or they are not whatever. Having said that, let me come to address the current issue. I tend to agree that the GJ is right in highlighting the issues. But my disagreement is with the suggestion that the government is responsible, or the suggestion that these attacks are increasing because of an act of the government or the presidency or something of that sort. And let me just briefly explain why this disagreement comes in.
Certainly.
First, yes, I sympathize with the journalists who have been attacked, and it is very condemnable. Even if it is one incident, it is worth talking about, and the GGA should be commended for coming out. My disagreement, however, is this. If you look at the current situation, there are 3 incidents involving 7 journalists. The first incident is the attack on Ohimin Tewi of the Multimedia Group. The second incident is the election, Council of State election in the Ashanti region, where 4 journalists were attacked. And then there were 2 others who were attacked in Wale Wale in the Northeast region. When attacks on journalists happen, we often want to look at the involvement of state actors and to some extent the executive arm of government, because now it is the executive arm of government that is being blamed. So let's take the incidents one after the other.
Sure.
The first incident, which is the attack on Ohimin Tewi, it was reported that the attack happened when Ohimin Tewi and then some police and other personnel went to an illegal mining site. So the police and whoever was there were attacked. It is interesting to note that this incident happened on the 20th of December 2024, when Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo was still president. So in this first incident, I think the GGA may have erred by adding it to the list of incidents under President Mahama.
Right.
It happened in 2024, but was reported on the 16th of January, which also raises questions. Because when I read it, the first question that came to mind was, if this thing happened over a month ago, why is it now being reported? And maybe this is a question that the multimedia group may want to respond. The second issue is something that is related to election violence. And then the third one, the Wale Wale one, is where state actors are involved. That is the military. That's the allegation, the military. So let's look at when you can blame the president or the government of the day. In every regime, in every country, you have persons who feel aggrieved and then take the law into their own hands and attack journalists. When it happens directly under the executive, you blame the executive. Or if it is state actors or nationally, it becomes so pervasive. And then the executive and the president do nothing about it. You can still blame them even if they are not responsible, because they are supposed to create a safe atmosphere for all Ghanaians, including journalists. So 2 incidents have happened involving 6 journalists, because I've said that the Ohimin Tewi one happened in 2024.
Right.
In barely a week, is it enough to say that the police have not yet effected arrest, and for that reason, the president should be responsible? And in saying this, I know there are people who are going to say, well, you were very vocal in the Akufo-Addo administration, accusing that administration of repression of press freedom.
That's right.
And I a press statement denying that, and he openly retracted and apologized. Despite that, he was arrested. Bobi Ansah made some allegations against the president's wife. Armed police raided the station, arrested him, and then he was detained and later charged. You have Caleb Kuda of City FM, who was arrested and tortured at the Ministry of National Security for just filming the abandoned Maslock vehicles there. People made a whole lot of noise and all that it was a security installation, but it is interesting to note that when I did a documentary on those vehicles, I was allowed by the national security to fly drones at that particular point.
I see.
So his crime had been that he wasn't given permission, and that is not a reason to beat him the way they did. You have two modern Ghana journalists who reportedly published false information about the National Security Minister. Their offices were raided, computers seized, and they were detained and allegedly tortured. You have a leading member of the governing party and chairman of the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament putting a photograph of a journalist on television and saying, "Attack him and I'll be responsible." That journalist, Ahmed Swale, was shot and killed. Nobody is responsible. And the most reprehensible aspect of that act is when President Akufo-Addo had opportunity to speak on the matter at the Bar Conference in 2019 in Takoradi, he said, well, that attack shouldn't be taken to mean an attack on press freedom. If that was not an attack on press freedom, then nothing was. I myself, in 2016, when I published the Ford story against President Mahama, I was offered police protection. Mind you, within that era, there were these same attacks on journalists, but I rejected the police protection because I felt safe, I felt secure. The government of the day and the president at the time, who is now president, didn't have this vindictive and intolerant posture. So I could do such a story and reject police protection. That was not the same way I felt under the Akufo-Addo administration. And I've recounted just some of the incidents that showed that the executive arm of government appeared to welcome those high-level attacks and even murder.
Right.
So my conclusion is, in every administration, since Rawlings, Kufuor, and the Fourth Republic, you have had journalists being attacked by one person or the other. The military and the police have been very constant in all administration. You find them attacking journalists. Are these right? No. Should we condemn them? Yes. Should the government be interested in ensuring that it doesn't happen? Yes. In this current situation, I have heard the presidential spokesperson saying they have arranged a meeting with the GGA next week to resolve the issue. If that happens and a solution is found, that would be the best way forward.
Right.
And we would call, beyond the CDS and the IGP, the Interior and Defense Ministers to be sure that if any police or soldier goes out to abuse not only journalists, but any Ghanaian, they should be held accountable.
Absolutely. Manasseh, two quick questions, please, and then I'll move back on to the ladies in the studio. Now, do you agree, for example, with Rhoda Lynn that the GJA president was speeding? It's 51 days into the president's John Dramani Mahama administration, and he's saying that he's seeing a rise in attacks against journalists. And my second question then is also about the deadline given by the GJA. They say that if nothing is done by the end of March, they will be taking the Ahmed Swale murder matter to the ECOWAS court. Briefly, your thoughts on those two issues, and then I'll wrap up with the ladies on this particular topic.
Yes, the Ahmed Swale issue should be taken to the ECOWAS court and perhaps even escalated beyond that. It is so serious, and we know when journalists are killed in some other countries, in one country, in Malta or so, the prime minister resigned when an investigative journalist was killed. When an investigative journalist covering crime was killed, I think in the Netherlands or so, the European Union, the country's president, everybody unanimously condemned it and said, this is not only an attack on press freedom, it is an attack on democracy. That is why I felt so offended when President Akufo-Addo said the killing of Ahmed Swale could not be said to mean an attack on media freedom. So it's a very serious issue, and I commend the GJA for keeping an eye on it and wanting to escalate it. On the issue of the Russian, it is not only about the number of days President Mahama has been in office, but the situation in question. If you put the incident into its proper context, I would think that it is too early, not because it is too early to criticize President Mahama, but on this particular issue, it is too early for anybody to say that the government is promoting or supervising or enhancing media or attacks on media. I've said these are 3 incidents involving 7 journalists.
That's right.
And one of the incidents didn't even happen under his watch. And if you have 1 week of an incident happening within a week, and I think some are not even up to a week yet, we want action, but it is too early. If these incidents become a disturbing rhythm and the government or president doesn't act or call the ministers responsible for the state agencies, in this case, the military, to ensure accountability, then we can say it is the government or the president must be blamed.
Certainly. Now,
But-
Manasseh, finally, before I move over to the ladies, my last question. Journalism standards in Ghana, are they falling? In just a minute or so.
If we say they are falling, against what period in time? There was a time, I think the older generation often forget that there was a time when you had only a handful of newspapers and only GBC. And they say, well, in those days, you hardly see this on TV, you hardly saw that on TV. But I say that when we had Graphic, when we had Times, when we had GBC, can anybody tell us some of the groundbreaking journalism works that these media houses that wouldn't go out of their way to disturb anybody? And it is for a good reason. They have their challenges. What stories were being done in this country? In my generation as a journalist, I have seen journalists doing stories that are sending people to prison. I have seen journalists doing stories that are resulting in the cancellation of contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So if we have so many media houses, politicians taking the airwaves and selling it to their people to misbehave, that should not be a reason to just make a blanket statement that standards are falling. There used to be very few conservative media organizations, and a few, the chronicles of those days, used to also do good jobs. But today, the atmosphere is different. And this issue about the person must be trained as a journalist is also a bit misplaced, because you have excellent journalists. Kojo Okonkrum, I worked with him, an excellent journalist at Joy. Bernard Avle, very great journalist. I don't know whether Shamima went to a journalism training school, but when she was a journalist,
We'll find out.
we saw her excellence. A lot of these people don't have the journalism training, but they are very good.
Right, Manasseh.
So we shouldn't just make a blanket statement that, well, standards are falling, for which reason I am sometimes appalled by some of the things I hear on radio. and television. No two ways about that. But it is very difficult to compare the different eras. Perhaps in those days, there was no freedom as we have it now. And some of the works we do, we may have been jailed if we were working in those. So it is very difficult to compare two eras and conclude that standards.
Manasseh, thank you so much for your views on this particular topic. I'll come back quickly to the lady so we can tie this topic up nicely with a bow and then go on to our next subject. Rodalyn, now, when you were listening to Manasseh, he took strong exception to what you said about journalists who might take off one hat and put on maybe a political hat, and that even the mildest suggestion that, you know, they be maybe harmed. I don't know if that's what... I know you were not suggesting that, but you know, you piqued my interest when you said that. It almost sounded as if you go and misbehave, somebody should hold you by the neck.
No. I wasn't impugning that. All I was saying is that if you're a journalist and you go to a program, okay, you go and do what responsible journalism ought to be. You go and report, you go and do whatever, but don't get involved maybe in the activities that are going on. I am one person that would not want to see any journalist being attacked, because I think that it's a good profession, and I think that they have to be people that we respect for them to be also able to give us what we want. But then at the end of the day, I was listening to Manasseh. I cannot say that Manasseh is not well trained, and people like Manasseh might not be that many in the system. So when we are talking about falling standards, my father owned a newspaper. Okay, and if I read through them and I look at the writings that are coming out today, it's not the same. It's very rich when you read those correspondence from other people, and you would see that there's that much of a difference. And today, even when you go onto social media, because of the polarization sort of the English language, you see journalists writing stuff that you can't really understand. And so that's where I'm saying that. And that's why I asked. I said, I don't know the difference between the training of the freelance journalist and the professional journalist. I don't know whether they all have some form of training, but there are lots of freelancers. It's become a job for a lot of people. And they are around, they don't actually give journalism that big hands up, if you understand what I mean, because people like Manasseh or Nkrumah, like he's saying, these are names that we know, but there are other people who are down there who are also doing some form of journalism, and we are not happy.
Okay.
You get me? We're not happy with their outputs and stuff. So it just goes to say that, be it as it may, journalists must just behave professionally and responsibly, and I guess nobody's going to attack anyone. But as for police and military brutality, for instance, when he mentioned the Wale Wale incident, I was kind of like, well, yes, it's not just Wale Wale, it's happened in other places. You understand, where you might have police brutality, but maybe they don't attack the journalist in those areas. But at the same time, I think that there's no reason for anyone to attack a journalist. But it's one of the things that happens worldwide. People are always looking out for journalists to attack.
Because we're looking to unearth secrets.
Exactly, and the pronouncements that you make.
And those in power don't like that.
They don't like that. So just try to be responsible and, say it as it is. And then I don't think anybody, but like you heard from Manasseh, something happened in 2024, and you are adding it to somebody who is just been here 35
In fact, a lot of comments have come through on the stream about that. They said it happened during the transitional period.
And so look at the list that Manasseh gave us about things that happened. Was it during Mohammed's time?
Do you feel justified in saying that the GJA president was speeding?
He was speeding. He was speeding. He should just take his time, and we'll get there. He should wait.
Thank you for that. And Shamima, I want to go on to our next topic, but if you want to wrap up in just 1 hot minute for me on this one.
She knows that I'm...
1 hot minute, just tie it up nicely.
Well,
all right.
I think, yes, I went to GIG. Okay. My billboard was there for many.
Oh, you were the face?
That was that. Didn't you see it when you were entering GIG?
No.
They did.
I'm serious.
Anyway, I think what I just want to ask Ghanaians, especially my colleague journalists this morning, is whether or not they believe as we speak, Ghana is heading towards a state of anarchy in President Mohammed's a month and a few days in office. I want to ask my colleague journalists and Ghanaians as to whether it appears there is no law and order in our country and that there's no security in our country.
Shamima, that's a question you want to pose today.
I want to pose that question based on one of the paragraphs in the GJA president's speech. If this is the sentiments of Ghanaians, please, when the surveys come around again, let us know. And if you're also online, you can answer these questions so that we know that we want to, as much as possible, respond to the needs and expressed feelings of the mass of our citizens. So if this is how you feel and that this claim, as has been made by the GJA president, is a true reflection on the ground, kindly let us know. Let me also reassure the Inky fraternity that the NDC government is on their side. His Excellency John Dramani Mahama is on their side. We will build this country together and ensure that we enforce media freedoms, just as we also would advocate for responsible journalism that is, that pays true fidelity to the ethics of the profession, and in the way that there's the reportage that is fair and that is accurate, that is also timely. And also to just add that if you recall, the president did instruct the IGP to present a report on the Ahmed Swale matter. I personally also think that we should take it to whatever courts that we think we should, because again, if after 8 years we have not been able to find exactly what happens, and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will support any action that the GJA itself also wants to take, any additional action that the GJA may want to take, to bring justice to one of their colleagues, even as he also does what is within his means to ensure we get a closure on that matter. Once again, apologies to all the journalists that are involved in the 3 incidents as reported over the month or two. And I pray that we will all also take our safety seriously, even as we go into some of these places. There are difficult places when you go to, right. And so when you go there, you also need to take the necessary precautions.
So that's a word of advice also to colleague journalists who also watch their surroundings
because your life
when they
matter.
go out.
Your life matter.
Absolutely.
You must not, die as a result of wanting. If you feel an environment is hostile, retreat, protect your life, and then reset and come again, right? So we thank you, and we're looking to deepening the collaboration with the GJA and cooperation with GJA. We want a better Ghana, and I'm sure we will find common platforms.
Shamima, I'll read out some of the messages that have come through as you've thrown this question out in due course. But let's go on to our second tabled topic of the morning, and this has to do with CLOGSAG. Now, in a major development in the public sector, CLOGSAG has declared a strike over the government's failure to remove the Registrar of Births and Deaths. Now, the union insists that his appointment is illegitimate and that his continued stay in office undermines due process. But why is government holding this ground? Is it a case of political interference, or does the registrar have a legal basis to remain? More importantly, what does this impasse mean for service delivery for Ghanaians all over the country? Shamima, I want to come again straight to you on this one. So you tell us what government's official position is on this appointment as of today. We listened to the soundbite earlier from Felix, who says that the door isn't shut to further dialogue and that entrenched positions haven't been taken. So this morning, it's a Thursday morning, what is government's position?
What government can assure organized labor is that at all times we will be responsive to their needs. We will be also, in as much as possible, be proactive with regards to labor issues. I mean, as we speak, negotiations on the base pay and minimum wage are ongoing. One of the earliest, that's, the tripartite committee was set up to look into the issues of labor, welfare. Because without Ghana's labor, there is no Ghana. without our civil and public service, there's no government machinery or state machinery, for that matter. So we are interested in the welfare of the state. But there's also separation of powers for a reason. We have the executive, we have the legislature, and we have the judiciary. We all play different but intersecting roles in, ensuring that this country remains a growing concern. On the specific matter, you would know that a couple of days ago, when the threat, happened, after conversations had already started, we're talking about the situation where the CLOGSAG is actually in court protesting the appointment of the current, the outgone registrar, who was appointed by the New Patriotic Party, who himself was not a civil servant. The matter apparently is still in court.
Still ongoing. It's
still ongoing. So in the initial approach to government when it came up was that, okay, if you insist that this has no legal basis, let's see how we can meet you halfway. And then upon deeper collaboration and conversations with various stakeholders, we come to the realization that indeed the law does not spell out in any provision whatsoever that the registrar of that registry should be a civil servant. At the highest level, these engagements have been going. We have asked, show us apply the laws, you may not be able to have grounds for the demand. So it's all about engagement. Look, it's a new era. We would need to know that this exactly what you want, but some of your concerns would find expression in the eventual outcome. Whatever the fears or concerns are, once you you supply those fears and concerns, we will not poo-poo them. So if it means that the current administration or the current registrar will be directed to ensure that the fears that you expressed about a non-civil servant being in that position will be addressed, then ultimately there is a solution. Do you get it? So I would want to encourage more engagement and goodwill and appreciation on the fact that we really are on the same side. We want what is better, but the government also reserves a right to put together a team that they believe would, help the reset agenda to happen, and at least give us that right, give us that mandate, because it's a mandate we have received. We went to the people and we asked them for their mandate to reset this country. That is a major work that requires to be done across board. We need to re-engineer things, we need to change things, we need to move things around. We cannot want a reset process based on the same foundations that have brought us where we are. So again, like yesterday, we were at the the former Ministry of Information to meet with the staff there, as well as the ISD department, to explain the new direction of government. Change is only constant in life. Do you see it? And when change happens, some people will be affected, but ultimately it's always for the better interest of this country.
So your doors are not closed as far as this conversation is concerned.
Of course, but we
All right.
want the leaders to also show some level of good intent, okay, so that we respect the space that we have offered and
Sharima,
engaged,
because you say
and
good
then
intent,
compromise.
hold that
and
thought for me, because I'm
compromise.
going to come back to that. You say good intent, and there's been a lot of suggestion that this strike might not be rooted in the best of intentions. And I'll read
Because
some
as
of
we
your
speak,
comments.
this is what we don't. As we speak, a counter group within CLOGSAG has also
In
come
fact,
out
we got a call this
to
morning
condemn
from a
the
faction of
action.
workers who say that they will be at post this morning. There's some internal wrangling. I'll come back to you, but let me quickly speak on phone now to Seth Abloso. He is a labor expert and will expand the tentacles of this conversation. Sir, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us on the program. Hello, Mr. Abloso. Hello, if you can hear me, good morning. All right, we'll attempt to re-establish contact with Seth Abloso. He's a labor expert, and we'll also pick his thoughts on whether or not CLOGSAG's position is outside of its mandate, outside of its scope, or if they have some legal right to do what it is that they are threatening to do. And hopefully we can also find out if the strike is actually underway. We know that there was a van going around with its loudspeaker to announce this.
Really?
Mr. Seth Abloso. Oh, Shamima, you didn't see it?
There was a van?
I'll play it for you. Mr. Abloso, good morning to you.
Oh.
Good morning.
Hi, thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you for having me, Ellen.
All right. I'm sure you've observed all the chatter surrounding CLOGSAG's impending strike. In fact, they announced today as D-Day. Would you say that their ask for the removal of the births and deaths registrar is outside of their mandate, or do they have some legal footing to go on this tangent?
Thank you once again. I regret to observe that
Mr. Abloso.
I regret to observe that the CLOGSAG is the leadership.
All right, Mr. Abloso, sorry to butt in. Can you turn down your TV set for us a little bit so we can hear you without interruption?
I regret to observe that
Thank you.
the leadership of CLOGSAG
Yes, sir, we're listening to you.
I regret to observe that the leadership of CLOGSAG
The executive secretary of CLOGSAG
is out of order in this case. One, you cannot seek to uphold the law or ruling of a court of competent jurisdiction whilst flouting another law. And that is with respect to the strike that they called. As at close of day yesterday, my checks established that they had not duly notified the National Labour Commission about the intention to proceed on strike and the reasons for say. And that is a requirement of the Labour Act 2003. And for us practitioners in labour and industrial relations, the Labour Act 2003 is referred to as a legislation of enlightened compromise.
Sure.
And it's important that all parties, government, labour and employers, respect the provisions of the law. And I'm saying that CLOGSAG is an obligation to have given prior notice of intention to do this to the Labour Commission. And the accounts have a saying that into I don't know how to put it in English, but you cannot be on strike and seek to have your issue resolved. Because CLOGSAG could have gone to court without having to declare a strike.
Okay.
Yes. And this is what the attention of the leadership needs to be drawn to. Because I've heard the executive secretary say that it's a decision of the National Executive Council. He's a part of the National Executive Council and he should not take himself out of it. But the National Executive Council of every labor organization needs to be provided leadership so that when they are taking an action that is not wrong, there must be a voice that can say that you are not taking the right path. It's not enough to say it's a decision of the National Executive Council, so we are going on strike. So, did they know about the existence of the National Labour Commission? Do they appreciate the importance of the National Labour Commission? These are matters that need to be looked at. And I think it's important that CLOGSAG calls off the strike before they seek engagement.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So you say CLOGSAG should call off this strike and seek to engage in a different manner. Mr. Seth Abloso, thank you so much for your time this morning and for joining us on the big issue. Thank you so much. Rhodolyn, let you have your bite on this one. CLOGSAG says that they're not being heard, and as such today, they are seeking to lay down their tools.
Helen, I just listened to Shamima. There's still an open dialogue going on. So they are free to come back. But I think that CLOGSAG rushed into this thing.
Another case of speeding.
Another case of speeding. Everybody is speeding. You know, it's like when you've been caged. You know, when you've been caged, and then suddenly they open. You try it. When you lock dogs. Excuse my. But when you lock dogs up and you open the cage, you see how they rush to go and get a bite at whatever you put there.
That's what we're seeing.
It seems everybody's rushing because now everybody has a voice. Everybody wants to be heard. Everybody needs to say something, to be seen, to be doing something. CLOGSAG, you have not even exhausted all the avenues. Austin Gama says you should go to court. There's no need. There's no need for this kind of thing. We are now having another group, a counter group, saying that you have not even seen to their welfare. The welfare of the people that you represent. You have not seen to their welfare. They are tier 3 unlawful withdrawals. You have not seen to that. Their service conditions. You have not seen to that. And yet you are jumping because somebody else has put in a leader that you don't want. But you see, the president has a right to appoint and to disappoint. And he has appointed somebody. Now, that person is qualified by what is written in the Constitution.
That's right.
Which means that once that person has come, you will have to try to accommodate that person to be able to deliver on whatever the president intends to deliver to the people of Ghana. So I am asking to say that the person coming in there means political interference because the person is politically exposed, so to speak. But this same person was a DCE. We all know that district assemblies are not political institutions. So why is the political exposure in this? That makes that person come in.
Maybe they want to get ahead of the issues, even before there will be an issue that they have to raise. They want to see that there's not political interference, even at this stage. Is that not legitimate?
Have you worked with the person to know whether the person is a politically minded person?
Should they wait until something untoward happens?
I think that they are jumping the gun.
Okay.
Because you've not actually worked with the person. They should have waited for the person to come, and when the person is setting up a certain line, then you can say, no, we are not going to accept this. You know, we are not going to accept it because you're going political or we're having political interference. But here's a situation. The president has nominated someone. That person qualifies. The person has not even started. No, we don't want the person. For me, I believe in one thing. When you can't work with someone, you have to draw back. It's you who has to draw back. If Bampo thinks that he cannot work with this person, or the executives think that they cannot work with the man that the president has brought, And if the president decides, or the government of the NDC decides, that this is the person that we want to be there, I think the best thing is to walk back.
You think that would have greater impact than announcing a strike if they were to pull back from engagements with this person?
Yeah, and just say, look, let's work and see how it goes. Why go on a strike? Why? When you have not exhausted all the avenues that are there. Now we are being told that the Labour Act has been flouted because you did not go even to the Labour Commission to do all these things. So why are you in a hurry?
Say the speeding is a lot. Rhodalyn, I've got a question actually. I want to expand this conversation a little bit. Now, there are those who say that Labour unions have been too selective or inconsistent with the causes that they champion, and I've seen on social media and beyond, Galamsey and all of that. Is that a fair assertion to make, that our Labour unions should be consistent in the things that they fight for? Or is it the case that, I mean, as a Labour union, you're really fighting for something that is immediately close to you? That's where your concern is, even before you expand your tentacles. Do you think it's a fair assertion that our unions are a bit comme-ci-comme-ça?
I'm glad I didn't say it. It's, you know, our unions are beginning to...
Shamima, you like my French?
Yeah, comme-ci-comme-ça.
Comme-ci-comme-ça.
Yes. I'm glad I didn't bring this up. You know, because that's what I think.
I mean, it's rife on social media and beyond.
Before I came in here, I said, look, we are having these labor unions taking certain sides, you know, based on their own.
Is it glaring?
Oh, it is glaring. It is glaring. You know,
so simply put, depending on who the government of the day is, labor unions will table their grievances accordingly.
Because look, we didn't hear them go on any strike when the past government made some unlawful deductions on their tier 3. We didn't see any strike. Did you see any strike or hear of a strike?
There might have been murmurings.
Well, the murmurings were there, but we didn't hear, and we didn't see a strike. But this is just bringing in someone, and then suddenly, no, we won't take it, and therefore we are going on strike. I mean, we are beginning to make strikes look so belittling. You know, you go on strike when the issue is really, really, really dire, and people feel like you want to bring all of us along. But here you are, with your own people, there's a division. Some others are saying that, look, you have not even finished chopping the matter in your house, and you are going out.
You think it makes the credibility shaky
when there's divisions? It makes the credibility shaky. You know, the first thing I said, maybe is he a sympathizer of some party that I don't want to say, and maybe hasn't come to terms with the laws and doesn't want to work with anybody else.
And you say we can't begrudge you of that opinion based on what you're seeing.
Yeah, based on what I'm seeing. But, Mr. I'd like to give an advice to the leadership.
Surely, in just a minute for me,
Just a minute, the leadership of CLOGSAG.
Okay.
This is a new dawn. Let us learn to be able to compromise with people, build some consensus somewhere. Once the door is open for more consultations, I think that is where it should limit. They should just call off the strike. Even if they're on the streets, they should go back home. And let's see some semblance of unity for purpose. Because in this situation, we want this country to work. They want the country to work. And because of that, I think that they should call off their strike.
Fantastic. Shamima, let me read just 2 or 3 messages, and then I'll come to you so we can wrap this up very nicely. Rhodalyn, they're calling you Yasantwa on Facebook. I thought I'd just draw your attention to that. There are some comments about revoked appointments. I'm sure in due course we can expand on that further. This one says, suddenly all of these organizations, this one is Navarro, from Navarro Emmanuel, suddenly all these organizations have found their voice again. As usual, it means Mahama is back. Nana Sinti Misa says, we are moving in the right direction. I see no anarchy. That's a question that Shamima put out to all of us. Somebody here says there should be, okay, I'll skip over that. Money TV3 Ghana. He says these CLOGSAG people should resign if they know they don't want to work with the appointed persons. Now, the question remains, who is responsible for appointing the registrar of births and deaths? Is it CLOGSAG or is it the president? I think Article 195 makes it clear for us who is to do so. Shamima, if the president will be responding to, okay, redacted. He says they will waste your time and drain your energy. He says you can't respond to all of this. This one too says, Auntie Rhoda, thank you for your contributions. this morning. Yao February says, what is wrong with political heads when the necessary departments are headed by technocrats? I'm not too sure if you mean that these departments should go strictly to technocrats. Okay.
Well, you presume there are no technocrats within political parties?
That's a very good one, because that often comes up. We see you guys as politicians and
all
nothing
of them
else.
Come with their expertise. People have real
different
expertise. Yeah.
Yes, politician, cum doctor, politician, cum engineer, politician, cum
everything.
journalist,
Yes,
as we see here. But Shamima, I'm being counted down in a minute or so. Wrap up for me, please.
What I want to also just quickly add that, you know, with the matter of the from the Chief of Staff Office that says that that has called for the nullification of all, you know, appointments after 7th December, and also to bring this matter before CLOGSAG. As we speak, the evidence we are receiving shows that there's a lot of fraudulent activities that have gone on in backdating, you know, employment contracts, and even reducing the the existing probation period for many of these people from 6 months to 3 months, you know. So even if the issues are coming up within the probation period, you cannot call it dismissal, because many of them who have been employed over the past couple of months, many of them are expected to be within the probation period. So I just want to draw the attention to CLOGSAG that we are dealing with these potential fraudulent matters, and the Company Act stipulates that if you're caught within this work, you will be debarred from managing any public, you know, office in any management position. These are real serious matters that are coming up from our public service system. They should support us to reset the civil servant so we can restore a modicum of respect and trust and love, you know, to the civil service. The civil service, as I said earlier, is really the soul of every government.
That's right.
But they also have faced a lot of criticism. In fact, the politicians always tell us to blame the civil servant because of their longevity. A lot of change and reforms that political heads want to implement, they tell us that those changes always get pushed back from the civil servant. Look, we want to reset this country. Let us compromise and cooperate to build the Ghana we want. That means sometimes embracing decisions and actions that you may not be you may not be comfortable with. That means allowing this change to happen that may sometimes affect you, so that you put the interest of this nation above what you might think is your personal convenience or interest, and give us some time to prove you right or wrong.
You are 51 days young, and Shamima, 44. Okay, I've got my my calculations to remind you that it's 44.
Yes, because if 7th February we were exactly a month in
so even with that counting, we're speeding.
We are speeding.
It's because we're a nation in a hurry. We're a nation in a hurry.
We should be in a hurry towards the right direction.
Certainly. I believe that we should be able to cross over to our colleague George Quainin, so that we can find out the situation on the ground, actually find out if this CLOGSAG strike is well and truly underway. As I mentioned, there was a pickup with a loudspeaker going around. If you were around the ministries as well, you would have heard it. I take it, Shamima, you didn't go around the ministry, so you didn't hear the loudspeaker going around urging members to stay home tomorrow.
Please come home, come to work. If you're a member of CLOGSAG, please come to work. Let's build this country. Let us
they
make
at work
it
already.
better for you.
We'll verify that when we're able to connect again with my colleague George Quainin. Let me read a few more of your messages here that you're sharing with us on the stream, and please keep doing so. You can find us on X, but also on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. That is our handle, and you too can have your bite on the two top issues that we have discussed this morning. I'll read some of those out just now, and do keep them coming. Also, the hashtag this morning, you can use hashtag New Day and hashtag the big issue. Okay, now majority of CLOGSAG won't agree to the strike, and this is coming from Nikwe on our stream. Okay, Thomas Roberts says this is the Ghana that we all want. Maria Adams says CLOGSAG action only confirms Okay, well, she says some alleged criminality. Maria, I don't know the full scope of that. Okay, somebody says, my party NPP is not in power. Don't blame us this time round. Okay, you're not on the chopping block. You're not on the block.
Are still...
All right, let's go to the Ashanti region. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar is standing by now. I believe he's in Kumasi. Let's find out what the CLOGSAG strike looks like where he is. Ibrahim, good morning to you. Hello, Ibrahim. Can you hear me?
Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, Ibrahim. How are you doing?
By His grace, we are fine.
What is the situation on the ground? Are CLOGSAG workers at post or have they elected to stay home?
Well, so I'm currently at the regional office of the BEF registry, and ideally, this is one of the busiest places every day. This place and the registrar in general's department. Now, by this time, you should have found tens or hundreds of people in a queue here, either coming to do their birth certificate or coming to pick their birth certificate. But today, the situation is different. As you can see, empty chairs. In fact, the security man just packed the chairs. When he came in the morning, he was also not aware of the strike. So he nicely arranged the chairs for people to come in. And a lot more people were here, seated, waiting for the workers to come so that either they pick their birth set or they register for a new birth set. But they waited for hours before one of the workers came here and told them that they are on strike. In fact, he said he even came to pick something in the office and he decided to take advantage and inform people that they are on strike, and for that matter, they will not be coming to work. So he is still currently in there, and he says he waits until 10 p.m., 10 a.m. before he leaves. He's not here to work, but he has decided to be here so that he will be giving that information to people who will be coming here. So when I came, people were frustrated leaving, and most of them didn't want to talk to me, but they do not understand why they have to bear the brunt of such an action. In as much as CLOGSAG has a valid demand, it shouldn't generate into instances where people who would rather be coming here to inquire or to get services will be affected. So this morning I can tell you that the strike has taken effect.
Okay.
And it has begun to bite seriously. You go to most of the MMDAs and you find nothing is going on. Most of the doors are locked already because of the absence of MMDCs. Activities are not that puzzling there. And now this strike has even halted everything here. As you can see, I'm sure this man is also going in there to check whether he will be able to be giving service. I'll try and see whether I can speak to him. I know it's not easy. Chief, good. But you are here for your birth set or something?
No, I don't want to talk, please.
Okay, thank you. He says he doesn't want to talk, but just like him, a lot more people have been here. They have to return to their various destinations. Very, very disappointed.
All right, Ibrahim, thank you so much for that update. And from the Ashanti region, let's come back down here to the Greater Accra region. My colleague, George Quainin, is situated at the ministries. George, hello, good morning. Hello, George, can you hear me? Good morning. All right, let's see if we can re-establish contact with my colleague, George Quainin. He'll tell us what the CLOGSAG strike looks like, at least in the Greater Accra region, in the Ashanti region and parts of Kumasi. There seems to be no activity, so the strike is well and truly on. George, I believe we're back on the line. Hello, good morning. Okay, and we can see there some pictures now on our screen and some locked doors, some locked gates. Some parked cars, but not a lot of human traffic from what we can gather. You see that van there, Ministry of Education. It looks quite empty. George, can you hear me?
protest of the appointment of the Registrar of the Birth and Death Registry. And if you've been here before, that's the Ministry of Education, you can clearly tell that the place looks a bit deserted. Look at the car park, for instance. It tells you that most workers here are not at work just to comply with the strike being organized by CLOGSAG. And so let me just take you to the reception area, and this is the reception arena, and that's the visitors room. And so this place is very locked, and the lock and key, as you can see, it cannot open. Same way, that's the entrance to the visitors room, locked, and the locked and key. And so this very entrance will take you to other departments here, the ministries, also under lock and key. So that is what it is. The compliance level is very high here. And of course, CLOGSAG's intention is that government appointment of the registrar of the Birth and Death Registry means that that person, that's Samuel Botry, is politically exposed. When it comes to his academic qualification, he ticks all the boxes. But their contention is that he's been politically exposed. And so these are some people here, I'm sure, who want to come and then make some... I want to know, what exactly are you here for?
Oh, we are here to see the customer service, that is recruitment, those in charge of recruitment.
But who are you and what do you do?
Oh, I'm Adam Abdullah. Okay. I'm founding president, Education Need Foundation Ghana.
Okay, so it's more like an NGO?
Yes, please.
But I'm sorry to tell you that they're on strike.
Okay.
And so maybe, I don't know how urgent whatever your request is. CLOGSAG is on strike. So you can see that usually this place, which is the reception, opens at 8 a.m., but as at some hours past 9, it's still closed.
Oh, okay. Madam, so do you have any...
So how will that impact whatever engagements you plan to come and have with the ministry?
I'm from the UK, and I've come to see if I can get a permit to do some work here, possibly be in the education sector. Yeah. So I'm here for that reason only. I wasn't sure that they was on strike. I wasn't aware of that.
How urgent is that request that you want to?
It's quite urgent, maybe within the next day or two, hopefully, or a week or so, possibly a month, whenever that will help come through.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the thing is, you're not in Ghana, so let me just brief you. So CLOGSAG is on strike because there's been an appointment of a registrar that they feel is politically exposed. So until government addresses that concerns, they're not coming to work. So if it's going to take less than a month, 3 weeks, then whatever you request that you want to seek from the ministry.
It will take that long, will it? It will take that long. I wasn't aware of the situation. That's why I come down from today. I came from North Legon all the way down here to Accra to find out what exactly is taking place, and I wasn't totally aware. This gentleman's come to help me along the way, to signpost me to the right direction.
So what next level of action are you going to take?
I don't know, so I have to come back or leave this application at the reception maybe, and when things resume back to normal, then they can put it on my behalf.
The name is?
My name is Miss Lawrence.
Miss Lauren has an NGO, and I'm sure she just wanted to come and engage the ministry on how best maybe they can collaborate and enhance the educational sector. And then she's actually been impacted one way or the other until, the strike is, until, members come back after the strike. I'm sure she'll not be able to, do whatever she wants to do with the ministry. That's quite a worrying situation, if you ask me personally, exactly what it is. So the CLOGSAG's intention is that until government addresses their concerns, they are not going to resume work. So if it's going to take a week, month, 3 weeks, whatever, that's what it is. That will be that, that's how the strike is going to span. And so clearly their concerns are that the appointment of the registrar of the registry is politically exposed. His credentials, academic credentials, ticks all the boxes, which is what it is. And so this is what the situation is right here at the Ministry of Education. We'll also be going to other ministries, where the Ministry of Employment, Labour and Jobs, and it also looks a bit deserted. We're going to other ministries and paint to you the picture of how that is impacting business as it is. And so, yeah, keep watching TV3, keep watching New Day, and we'll be updating you as and when we get more information.
Thank you so much for that update. So we went to the Ashanti region, brought you back down to the Greater Accra region. It appears that the strike is well and truly on, at least from the little we've been able to share with you. Do stick with us all throughout the morning, all throughout the day, and we will update you accordingly. Government says the door is certainly not closed. There are no entrenched positions, and that dialogue will continue. So we'll keep you up to speed as far as this is concerned. But we'll park it here for the big issue this morning. Let me say thank you again to my guest, Shamima. I wanted to say thank you to you.
Thank you. Just one thing. I think that just as we take feedback from the general public for government, I think that the general public, when some of these things happen, should also give feedback to public institutions like CLOGSAG and labor unions. So, because their actions also have, bearing on the welfare of the general public. So we as a government, we're open to feedback, and I think that labor unions must also be sensitive to the sentiments of the day. It would seem from everything that is happening in the comments we are getting from the general public that they don't quite endorse this action. And so we'll plead with the leaders to reconsider this position and come back to the discussion table. The strike may not necessarily deliver what they want. It is engagement with good faith, and compromise that will really give all of us what we want.
All right, Shamima, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Shamima Muslim is the Deputy Presidential Spokesperson. I was also joined by Rodelyn Imoru Ayana, Public Interest Advocate. I won't tell you what she said when her microphone was off.
I'll be
Rodelyn.
disappointed if the president dips in.
Okay, you'll be disappointed.
I will be totally disappointed and shattered.
You'll be shattered?
Yes.
Very passionate.
You see, we don't have to allow people to hold governments to ransom, because just certain individuals might not. Look, people are going on holiday. If you say it's a strike, I will sit at home. Maybe I have some marketing to do, I have something to do. So that's what we are seeing. But we cannot allow people to always take governments for granted.
Rodelyn, thank you so much. We were also joined via Zoom by Manasseh Awuni-Azuri. He's an investigative journalist as well as an author. Mr. Seth Abloso, who is a labor expert, also joined us to share his thoughts on our issue of the morning. Thank you all as well for your comments on our various streaming sites, and we try to read as many as possible. Do keep them coming all throughout the day. But it's week 2 of the Fit Start Challenge. Which team do you think is making progress? Is it Team Helen or is it Team Comfort? Now, this week, each member is required to track 10,000 steps. We're aiming for 10,000 steps a day, and we're sharing our progress with the team. I've done 10,000 steps every single day since Monday. We're also tasked to eat 5 different colored vegetables every single day, and you share your rainbow diet with the team. We're getting fitter, healthier, and stronger in 2025. We're also drinking at least 3 liters of water a day, and also sharing our daily water consumption with the team. So do share your creative ideas as well of infused water to stay hydrated and motivated. I'm talking about 3FM Fit Start. If you're not already a part of the healthy movement agenda, you can look at the information on our screens and send us a message and get involved. We're getting healthier, stronger, and fitter in the year 2025. Let's get on to our very first draw. If you've been playing *439#, just relax and watch some magic happen. The first draw is happening live. Do keep playing all throughout the morning. We're giving out 2,000 Ghana cedis to 4 lucky individuals. And if your number is 024 2246, that's 024 2246 -- there's 2,000 Ghana cedis hot straight onto your mobile device. We'll park it here, go for a quick break. When we come back, there's more on New Day.